You know what? I'm not gonna lie, last week's NXT wasn't the greatest episode you're ever gonna watch from the Black and Gold brand, but my god, this week they brought some big guns, they brought a tank, they brought the biggest weapon of mass destruction you've ever seen, and they just pressed the big red buttons on all of them. Because not only did we have two monumental announcements from William Regal, we had 1, 2, and perhaps 3 NXT Championship matches on the same night, and Austin Theory did some more stupid stuff. Okay, maybe the last one's not as impressive as the other things, but it's still pretty good. So I'm not going to ramble on too long because we have got an awful lot that we need to get stuck into. I'm Gareth from WhatCulture Wrestling, and these are the ups and downs for this week's NXT.
NXT ups and downs.
So, getting the ball rolling, really in the only way they probably could have after the last week of promotion and all the rest of it, we had William Regal stood in the middle of the ring and he was like, right, I've got some announcements I need to get off my chest. And for the first one, look at this. So he didn't say anything, he just pointed at the video that was about to come on, and boy was there a biggie. Because this video did then explain that we were going to have a takeover event, the next one, which was going to be called Stand and Deliver, and it wasn't just going to be happening on one night, it's going to be 2 nights. Of course, this rumour has been doing the rounds on the internet for a couple of weeks now, but it has been officially confirmed. The first night's going to be on USA, the second night's going to be on Peacock. Oh, I just need it. I need it now. And if that wasn't enough, we then had the second announcement, and behind Mr. Regal, he was like, right, look at this. I've got some things underneath this blanket. I'm going to get all the women from the division, like, out on the ramp. They're all stood there like, what are you going to say, Mr. Regal? He was like, you guys are brilliant. Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez, you're even more brilliant. We're going to bring you into the ring. We're going to give you the brand new NXT Tag Team Championships. And you know what? Both of these announcements, they're getting an up because they filled me with excitement. Now, Regal's justification for introducing the belts was that he was just sick and tired of being screwed over by the main roster and being told what to do. So there was that, right, we don't need your main roster women's tag team titles. We're going to have our NXT versions. And to be honest, I don't think we need the main roster ones now because this is the best women's division, not just in WWE, in all of wrestling. So I don't think you need that main version on the main roster because I don't think they have the people there on the main roster, enough people anyway, to really keep that belt up in acclaim and esteem, so it just feels a bit pointless. But soon after they'd just been awarded these titles, Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon, of all people, obviously the people who are in the finals of the Dusty Cups with Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez, they were like, we want to challenge you, and Regal was like, well, you made my job very easy. We're going to have a big title match later tonight, and that is the secret 3rd NXT Championship match in one night. What a night. And just when you thought you'd caught your breath, you were like, okay, there are the announcements out of the way, Io Shirai just suddenly made her way to the ring. We were going to have an NXT Women's Championship match, obviously the match between Io Shirai and Toni Storm for the belt. I was just like, oh, give me a minute. So the story coming into this was really, really simple. It was just Io Shirai, this all-conquering champion who's beaten just about everybody on the roster, coming up against Toni Storm, who's the only person she's never beaten in one-on-one action. And you could just tell that Toni Storm had an absolute bee in her bonnet because this is the best she has looked in NXT since returning. She was nailing her with drop kicks, with just absolutely fierce strikes. She hit a bridged German suplex at one point in this match that made me do the chef's kiss, and it made me just think, my goodness, I need to see more of you, Toni Storm. You're just incredible. You're almost as good as Io Shirai. But not even the fact that she somehow managed to scout the Matrix thing that Io Shirai always does, where she like does this. That's not the Matrix. I don't know what that is. She like dodged that into an elbow drop. Not even that could stunt Shirai's momentum. Because after reversing a Storm Zero on the apron and turn it into like a body drop that just slammed Toni Storm down, she hit her with a moonsault to the outside of the ring, and I just thought, well, this looks like the end for Storm. But it wasn't. Io Shirai was not content with the one moonsault. She went for another inside of the ring, and then Toni Storm reversed that, hit the Storm Zero. Finally, she kept trying to do it all the way through the match. She finally hit it. There was an insane near fall, and I was thinking, oh my god, Toni Storm might just do this. But sadly, she got a little bit too frustrated, a little bit too desperate, went for a flying headbutt, which I definitely never recommend trying at home. She went for that, and, well, Io Shirai turned the tide. Because she then cinched in a wicked crossface. There was a lot of crossfaces on this show, just FYI. But she cinched it in. Toni Storm had no choice but to tap out. Io Shirai has added another incredible, huge scalp to her ever-growing list of scalps and people she's just battered across the year or so. She is the 2020 Wrestler of the Year, and she carries on doing what she's doing right now. She's going to be the 2021 Wrestler of the Year. I love Io Shirai, she's great. She does all the amazing things that you expect of an incredible champion. So this match, everything about it, it's getting an up. After this, we had a quick thing with Finn Balor backstage, and he was sat there going, right, Mr. Adam Cole, you've got no friends. I'm going to beat you up on your own. And I won this belt by beating you. So I'm going to do it again because I'm Finn Balor. Following this, we then had an interview with LA Knight backstage. Mackenzie Mitchell was having a chat with him, and he was like, oh, everyone keeps saying, when's my debut going to happen? When am I going to be in that ring actually kicking ass? Well, it's going to happen next week. And before he could really celebrate the fact that that was going to be a thing, Bronson Reed just grabbed him by the neck. Obviously, LA Knight did get involved with Bronson Reed and Cameron Grimes' To the Moon match last week, so that didn't go very well. And it looks like he may be, if he's not involved with the match, he's probably going to be keeping a very close eye on that match. And I'm very, very excited for a potential feud between LA Knight and Bronson Reed, because Bronson Reed just pretty much flattens anybody he's in a ring with nowadays. Our next match that we had between the squared circle ropes of the Black and Gold brand was then Pete Dunne taking on Jake Atlas. If you know Pete Dunne, you know Jake Atlas and the characters they currently have on NXT, you can kind of see where this is going. But to be honest, that doesn't matter. The match itself is getting it up, because I thought it's the best that Jake Atlas has looked for a very long time. He put in a hell of a shift against Pete Dunne, who just has an obsession, just an absolute, I'd say it's an unhealthy obsession, with bending people's arms and fingers and legs. Somebody needs to give him a stress ball or a resistance band or something, because he just gets arms and just goes, yeah! And I'm just pleasantly surprised how well Jake Atlas did, because he was just flipping, using all of his gymnastic skills to break away from all the arm locking and the aforementioned snapping of limbs. And I'll be honest, as soon as I saw Pete Dunne pop up as the person that was going to be taking on Jake Atlas, my mind just went, dun dun dun, he's dead. But no, he was not dead, not straight away at least, because he pulled off a stunning moonsault, he did an insane release German suplex. Jake Atlas looked pretty good in this match. That was until he kind of got ahead of himself a little bit and then went for that cartwheel DDT that he always tries. That didn't go very well, so he ended up on the floor, and Pete Dunne started kicking him in the face and then grabbed his fingers, snapped them, obviously, snapped his arm back, and then just started yanking on him in an arm bar. It's not an arm bar, what I'm doing there, so we're going to forget that, but he did a really aggressive thing to his arm and he tapped out. Like I said, it made Pete Dunne look like the bona fide badass bully that he definitely is, the Triple B, and it made Jake Atlas look like a plucky guy, even in absolutely disheartening defeat. But after this, Dunne seized the mic and he was like, well, I'm the best technical wrestler on the planet. Is anybody over there? Anybody want to contend with that? Anybody want to contest the fact that I am the best technical wrestler in the world? Nobody did, because they're all probably terrified, but if you ask me, a certain Daniel Bryan over on SmackDown would probably have a thing or two to say about that. Do the right thing. We then cut to Imperium backstage, who was stood there. It was Fabian Eichner just having a conversation with the camera, and he was saying, Timothy Thatcher, we've had a long storied history together. We built something great long ago. I'd like to rebuild that thing in NXT and do something very incredible together. He then invited Thatcher to join him and Imperium to help steal back what was always there. That's the way he put it. And he even said, hey, you can bring old man Ciampa along for the ride too. It was Leon Ruff's turn to grab the mic and say things down the lanes after this, because he was talking about Swerve Scott, the fact that he doesn't like how he thinks that Leon Ruff has had opportunities handed to him and he's had to scratch and claw and what are them? I'm like a T-Rex, but he's done that. He's T-Rexed his way to the top of the mountain, and you know what? He deserves to be there. And he's going to prove exactly why he should be here in NXT by taking on Isaiah Swerve Scott in a match next week. And to be honest, I'm really enjoying this feud. I think it's a good use of both men, so I cannot wait to see Leon Ruff kick Isaiah Swerve Scott's ass. We then had the first ever WWE NXT Women's Tag Team Championship match. We got there, that is a mouthful. And it was between the the newly crowned champions Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez, and Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon. And I really like this because I really like the way it was set up. You had this big fight feel. I know it's really cliche to say that, but it did feel like that because you had the announcements beforehand. And just a quick note on the actual belts. I love the fact that they look identical to the men's versions of the tag team titles, so they feel as equal in stature and acclaim and all the rest of it, but they've just given it the white strap because I think that's what they just do with all the women's titles now, isn't it? Just a little note as well, Ember Moon had a tail during her entrance. I spotted that and thought, never seen that before. But sensing they had to just go straight for it from the very first second, Ember Moon drop kicked Dakota Kai, and then Dakota Kai got dragged into a cloverleaf from Shotzi Blackheart, and I was like, They've broken Dakota Kai in the first 2 minutes. This is great. But of course, any team with Raquel Gonzalez in it, it's only going to be a matter of time before they regain the advantage in the match, and that's exactly what happened. But there was a moment when the hot tag was offered to Ember Moon and she came in and she just went on a blitz. Like, there was a moment where she lifted up Dakota Kai and brought her down into a spinning knee to the face thing. I couldn't even describe what it was. I couldn't even wrap my brain around it, never mind understand how it must have felt to take. But this is the brand new NXT Women's Tag Team Champions we're talking about right now, and it was only a matter of time before Raquel Gonzalez lifted up, I believe it was Shotzi Blackheart, and then she got brought back down for the go-to kick, the assisted go-to kick thing that her and Kai do. It looks really impressive, but she kicked out. I was in very much shock. You know what? It wasn't to Shotzi Blackheart, it was to Ember Moon, because quickly after this, I remember that Raquel Gonzalez lifted up Ember Moon for a Dominator Slam thing, which turned into a sit-down power, but they were just making moves up. They were lifting up each other and going, what can I do to them? I'll just throw them around like a lunatic. And it seemed to be doing the trick until Shotzi Blackheart decided to absolutely nail the two with a crossbody and then Hurricane Rana. Every woman in this match just seemed possessed. But the inevitable seemed to be on its way when Ember Moon tried to pull off that eclipse on Raquel Gonzalez. She powered out. I was like, yes, that's what Raquel Gonzalez does. She's a force of nature. But just as she powered it towards the ropes, Dakota Kai was thrown into the pair. They fell over the top rope. Shotzi Blackheart then rolled up Dakota Kai for the win. They won the belts. Now I'm just going to make a point of the fact that it was the slowest 3 count I've ever seen in my life, which I think is an absolute travesty because it made Dakota Kai look really weak in that moment. But that's not the story. The story is the fact that these brand new champions weren't allowed to be champions for longer than an hour or something, and then Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon won the belts. So they're the new champions. I like this. It was a good shock. I was like, wow, that's definitely got my attention on these belts. It feels like a better version of the 24/7 title. They can just change hands at any moment. Now I will say that I would have liked to see Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez hold on to the belts for a few more weeks, a few more months, but it does seem like we are sowing those seeds for an eventual explosion between the two. But before we get there, something even more intriguing was teased later in the night, but when we get there, we'll get there. It was then Adam Cole's turn to look down the camera and just say exactly what was on his mind. He said that Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong were dead weight, so he just dropped them like a sack of spuds, and he was going to prove to Finn Balor, who many consider to be the greatest NXT champion of all time, he was going to prove to him exactly why he was the #1 NXT champion forever and all the rest of it. He was going to do that tonight, so I think it's time he puts his money where his mouth is and just stops super kicking people out of nowhere, because you know what, it makes him look like a dick. We had a really lovely moment after this, because Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon were backstage and they were getting a nice guard of honour off everyone, off all the women of the division. They were like, this is really nice, this is feel good. And it did make me feel good, it's getting a little up. But then obviously the Way were backstage and they were like, Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell were watching on. They were like, you know what, I think that should have been us. That's really annoying. So they went over to Johnny Gargano. Gargano agreed. He was like, that should have been you. Where's Austin Theory? And then Austin Theory did arrive on the scene. He said, Johnny, did you pay off the therapist last week? And my mind just instantly thought, have you spent an entire week just holding in that question and not asking Johnny if that was what happened? It was on TV, it was on YouTube, it's there, you can see him doing it. Are you taking the therapist? But then Austin Theory did just go full idiot at this moment, because Johnny Gargano was like, that's what you do with the therapist, you pay them, and then they get the job done. Gargano then told Theory that it's a good thing that he now knows exactly how Loomis feels about him, and then he just reiterated that he thought he had not very good abs. And then Austin Theory just went full Hulk Hogan and just ripped his shirt off, and he was like, I'm really angry, I'm gonna go and find Loomis, and stormed away. And no, just all of this, I was not a big fan of it. I'm gonna give it a down. We're gonna even bring up the Gargano meter, and I'm gonna give it the lowest score we've ever had. I'm gonna give it a 5%, because I just don't know. I don't like it. Just get it off my screen. I don't need it anymore. And sadly, we're going to follow this with yet another down. But the down's more for the finish than the actual match itself, but we'll get there. It is Xia Li taking on Kaden Carter in this match, and there was just a lot. There's a lot going on. But before we do that, we need to do something which is now becoming a staple of NXT Ups and Downs, and it is my tribute to Xia Li's entrance. Hey! Whew. Okay, so Kaden Carter looked really good in this match for quite a spell. She was drop kicking, she was kicking Xia Li in the face, and I was thinking, oh my goodness, is she going to beat Xia Li? Is that what's going to happen? But no, that is not what happened, because instead Xia Li overcame all this random offense from Kaden Carter, put a leg in the turnbuckle, and went to snap it like she did to Casey Catanzaro a couple of weeks ago. but then Katy stopped her doing this by whacking her with a crutch and obviously forced the DQ. That would have been fine if you would have just stopped it there and just had those two flee and run away going, oh, I've saved them for another day. That would have been fine. But that's not what happened. Kacy Catanzaro just then went straight after Xia Li with this crutch, carried on attacking her, carried on smacking her with a crutch, and Xia Li was begging. She was like, please, no more, don't hurt me. And then Boa attempted to come and save the day. He blocked the crutch, snapped it in half, and then he got whacked with another crutch off Kaden Carter. So in the space of about a minute and a half, Xia Li and Boa went from looking like this really terrifying, ominous presence to two weaklings begging not to be hit by crutches. I didn't like it. I felt like it undid loads of this work that's been done over the last couple of weeks, unless Xia Li obliterates the two next week, and then I'll rescind this down. I'll put it back up as an up. Unless that happens, I'm not happy. Don't hurt my Xia Li. We then had a pre-recorded Jordan Devlin promo. He was sat in an airport somewhere, I think in Dublin. He was like, oh, my travel ban's been lifted now. I can move back over to NXT. I'm the real Cruiserweight champion. I'm gonna take on Santos Escobar. And you know what? In my mind, no you're not. You've been missing off my NXT for however long. You're not my champion. Santos Escobar is, and I hope he kicks your ass. We then had a straight to the point, really effective Zoe Stark video package thing where she was like, oh, I can grapple with the best, wrestle with the best, I can kick ass with the best. I believe her. I think she's going to be a bona fide superstar. She's got the full package, all for Zoe Stark. Santos then shared my grievances about this stupid Jordan Devlin stuff, and he was like, I'm the champion, I've been here all this time, I deserve to be the champion and stay here being the champion. Regal was having none of it, they were bickering, and they let Legado go out there and have their match, which was going to be against the grizzled young veterans. I'm going to give the madness which went down in this match a big up, but the actual match itself didn't really get going for the most part. It was massively overshadowed by the final stages, which I'm going to get into. Because just as Legado was starting to press an advantage, some guys came out in spacesuits, which you would be forgiven for thinking was Breezango, but then MSK revealed themselves as the Spacemen, which then distracted Zach Gibson instead, and he was not able to save James Drake from being rolled up, and they lost the match, and my hands lost control. This then led to Wesley smashing Zach Gibson's hand with a helmet. He smashed that, his hand just obliterated on the steel steps, and then Breezango arrived on the scene, and they just started randomly attacking Legado. They got their revenge, and then the two good guys celebrated in the ring by Fandango crowning Dash Carter with a helmet, so I'm guessing they are now the bizarre people of NXT. The helmet has been passed, and I'm all there for it. We then did have that little tease that I was talking about from before, which was Io Shirai coming backstage and seeing Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez, and then squaring up to Raquel Gonzalez and saying, I want you next. So I want to see that next. Put it on TakeOver. That is the match I've been begging for months. It's gonna be insane. It's gonna be incredible. I am so hyped up. So yeah, let's get it up. We then had Timothy Thatcher backstage, and he was asked how he thought about the Imperium stuff that had happened earlier in the night, that invite. And Tommaso Ciampa, before he could even get a word in, was like, I'm not going to join them because I just don't want to. I'd sooner go and batter Walter, so let's have that match, which, yes, please, can we have that match? And then it was announced that Timothy Thatcher and Tommaso Ciampa will be taking on Imperium next week, and Timothy Thatcher looked very conflicted about this, so I've got a feeling some shenanigans are coming. We then did have the main event, which was the NXT Championship match between Finn Balor and Adam Cole. And my God, it got an up. It got a big old up, but it might get something else later. Because obviously these two know each other incredibly well. There was reversals, there was headlock changes, there was dodges of super kicks, and it was just a jaw isolation masterclass from Adam Cole to Finn Balor. And the greatest example of this isolation of the jaw and all the rest of it was at a moment when Finn Balor went for the coup de grace, and then he got rolled up into a crossface, and I just thought, wow, this is it. This is just gonna be cruel. He's gonna tap him out to a crossface in the middle of the ring. Don't do it, Adam Cole, you dick. And there was also a great callback from a couple of weeks ago where Adam Cole injured Kyle O'Reilly by suplexing him onto some steel steps. He went to do that to Balor. Balor reversed it, threw him onto the ramp. It was just great. But the match itself wasn't actually the big takeaway here. It was a good old match. It did its job for the most part. But as we got to the closing stretches, you just sensed some things were gonna happen. And those things came in the form of Kyle O'Reilly suddenly arriving in his nice sleeveless denim jacket. He was just staring down Adam Cole, who looked like he'd seen a very literal ghost. He then got smashed by Finn Balor, who dived over the top rope. He then got hit with the 1916, then got hit with the coup de grace, and lost the damn match. But his night was only going to get worse from there because he was begging Kyle O'Reilly not to beat him up. He then went for the low bro because, like I said, he is the D word. But Kyle O'Reilly blocked it, grabbed his Undisputed Era armband, which was just, it ripped my heart to shreds, and he just battered him. He just battered him all the way up the ramp, battered him out of the arena, and I was like, go Kyle, kick that guy's ass. And as Finn Balor was watching on, he was like, that looks like something I don't want to get involved in. He stopped, smelt, it looked like he was smelling, and went, "What took you so long?" and turned around, and it was the Grim Reaper. No, it wasn't the Grim Reaper. It was Karrion Kross. It's pretty much the same thing. The two then just stared at each other, and my face melted. My face melted. I'm so happy. This is going to happen. We're going to get Finn Balor, Karrion Kross at TakeOver, Kyle O'Reilly, Adam Cole, TakeOver, Io Shirai, Raquel Gonzalez, TakeOver. Yes! Oh, it's good stuff. It was a good ending to NXT. The match itself did get a little bit overshadowed by the shenanigans at the end, but we don't mind. We don't mind that. It's all getting it up. It's getting a yellow highlighter of the week up. It's all good stuff. That's what I like from my NXT. So let me know what you thought of all the ups and downs from this week's NXT. Let me know in the comment section, of course. Don't just send me letters, because who sends letters anymore? I've been Gareth from WhatCulture Wrestling. Find me on Twitter at gmorgan04. Find everyone here at WhatCulture at WhatCulture WWE. Don't forget to like the video, share the video, click on all things WhatCulture around me. There's probably some videos there, or here. Maybe not here. Don't block this face. Don't forget to have the best week possible until I see you next, because these have been NXT ups and downs, and I will see you very, very soon.